As I mentioned earlier, we do have Level A, which was designed for the student who may not have picture discrimination or awareness of books. Level A uses objects to give meaning to the stories as opposed to pictures, and as the level continues, they eventually fade the objects out and increase the use of pictures. Just like all of the other levels, Level A has 5 lessons. In order to show you a bit more of Level A, I'm going to show you a brief video discussing the background of Level A and what its functionality is within the program.
Students begin the program at Level 1. But for those who haven't yet developed picture discrimination, there is Level A with its own set of objectives and its own unique book.
I've always loved reading, and it's very exciting for me to be able to teach, children who they think are pretty much unteachable to learn how to read, so that's super exciting for me because, I was always reading a bunch to my students. So now that I'm, have a structured program to be able to teach them how to read and to expose them to this on, on a regular basis, it's very exciting. Okay, Kayla, today we're going to read our favorite story, Oh My Apple Pie. Well, I've worked with Kayla for about 2 years now. Eye gaze is her the response that she can give you because she's not verbal. She's not able to talk. But before we get started, we're going to play a game. And this game is a picture game. I'm going to show you your picture and your name. I want you to take a look at your picture, pretty girl. Good job, Kayla. That's you. This is a picture of you, Kayla. And look, here is your name, Kayla. That's your name. I'm going to put the two together. Kayla, that's you, pretty girl. Now, let's try it again, but this time I'm going to show you an apple. We've been talking about apples a lot, especially with our story. Here's the apple. Actually, initially she was just exposed to the objects, but now we're at the level now that she's just primarily using pictures, which is really good. And then, it may take her a little while to kind of zoom in on the correct one, but she knows what the answer is, and she's starting to look up and look down at both of her choices, and then she'll just focus in on one, and then I know she's got it. You ready? Where's the apple, Kayla? Where's the apple? Here it is. Here's the apple. Good girl, Kayla. Good looking at that apple. Initially, I was like, I wonder if they can do it, because it was, like, wow, I don't know. But then once I started working with it and I got more into it, and they were like, yeah, let's give it a whirl. I've seen them all blossom. Even the ones that aren't in the program, I've seen them blossom as well because they're like, wow, she's reading again, and now they're like, oh, yay, she's reading again. So it's real exciting. So I'm real excited about it.
Just like Level A, all of the other 7 levels have 5 lessons each. In levels 1 through 7, there are 14 objectives that are taught throughout the levels. Objectives increase in difficulty as you go through the levels. And eventually those easier objectives drop out and more difficult objectives are introduced later in the program. One of the reasons why the Early Literacy Skills Builder has been so successful is all of the objectives are introduced in the format of a game. For example, Objectives 1 and 2 are introduced in the form of a flashcard game. Objective 1, students read vocabulary words using time delay instruction, and Objective 2 builds on Objective 1, where students actually use those same flashcards to complete sentences. Objective 3 is text pointing. Objective 4 is a hidden word game where students point to a word that completes a repeated storyline. And again, students get into this part of the program because of the game format. Objective 5 is where we are introduced to comprehension. In answering questions, this is where students respond to literal or inferential questions about a story. Objective 6 is where students begin to understand syllable segmentation by clapping out syllables in words. And we continue that phonological awareness training with Objective 7, where students are responsible for tapping out sounds in words. As you can see here, we have more games: the letter sounds game for Objective 8, the first and last sounds game for Objective 9, and Objective 10 is finding pictures with special sounds, where students identify pictures that begin or end with certain consonant sounds. Lastly, we have this list of the last 4 objectives. I do want to point out Objective 14, which is fun with writing. This is where students use new vocabulary and personal information to create a book about themselves called My Book About Me. The students prepare 1 page per lesson, so by the end of the program they have a 35-page book about themselves. As we know, reading and writing often come hand in hand, so it's very important that writing is included in the Early Literacy Skills Builder. The ELSB has several parts and pieces. There are teacher's manuals, student materials, assessment manuals, as well as essential components such as Mo the Puppet and the implementation guide. I'm going to show you a few slides highlighting key parts of the Early Literacy Skills Builder. This is the implementation guide, which is very important to look at before you begin implementing the Early Literacy Skills Builder. It provides sample overlays for your nonverbal students and also provides lesson plans for your Building with Stories component. This is the manual that you would begin the program with. It is the teacher's manual for both Levels 1 and for Level A. You will find a similar coded student material book that again is green and goes along with that teacher's manual book. Additionally, in green you'll have your student assessment for both Levels 1 and Level A. And there's Mo, the motivating force behind the Early Literacy Skills Builder. You will see Mo used throughout the scripted lessons and in the adjunct activities. These are the flashcards that your students will use in the flashcard game, which is highlighted in Objectives 1 and Objective 2. And this is the Getting Started DVD, which highlights footage from actual classrooms in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg School District. All of you who order the Early Literacy Skills Builder will receive 2 boxes that look exactly like this box featured here. In your kits, you will find this chart, which identifies all of ELSB's curriculum components. You can see how all of the levels are color-coded and have a teacher's manual, a student material book, as well as a student assessment book for that level.